Welcome Pisces to your in-depth monthly forecast for January 2024 for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you some standout details to look out for, but please stay with me. I will explore in much greater depth all the ins and outs particularly relevant to your sign. Now, your two ruling planets of Jupiter and Neptune are right at the heart of proceedings this month. Also, Saturn in your sign is forging a brilliant link to Jupiter right throughout January. And there is an amazing new moon on the 11th, particularly helpful for you. But if you really want to shoot for the stars this year in terms of your professional expectations, there's a lot of information I can share about that. Please stay with me for more. As we make our way into year 2024, if you would like to understand what this will mean for you in a totally individual way and ascend above this zodiac broadcast, please give me 3 pieces of your birth data of time, date and place, or date and place if you don't know your time, and I'll produce for you your 12-month forecast. This will be a full 12 months from the time of your order, unless you order in the latter part of 23, and I'll give you the rest of that year for free. But along with your 12-month forecast, which will give you searing insights, you can also get your character analysis report, your life roadmap. That gives you a much more intimate understanding of the influences that have played out in your whole life and how you can work with them. Also, you'll get your zodiac forecast for each of the 12 signs, your Indian Vedic forecast and your Chinese forecast for year 2024, all free of charge. Please see the link beneath this video for more. So Pisces, as you make your way into January 2024, the Sun is in the sign of Capricorn, which is very much to do, as usual, with your long-term planning, your highest hopes, the more spiritual domain of ambition, if you like, very much to do with who we are affiliated to, who we network with, who our friendship group is, where we socialise. But also Pluto's been there since 2008, all but those 11 weeks last year, that brief sojourn in Aquarius. And perhaps the biggest story this month is about the tiniest planet, and that is Pluto returning to Aquarius on the 21st, and your 12th house, which is as deep as it gets, the sector of culmination, which you know all about because you are the culminating zodiac sign in terms of our whole spiritual journey. But you also have a collective in your 10th solar house. This is very unusual. I don't remember this. We've had some midpoints in Sagittarius in recent years, but this year it's Mercury in retrograde, very close to Mars. Mars in the 10th house gives us a lot of extra sense of ourself. It is good for the ego. If you want to gain greater recognition and you need to network with important players, Mars gives you that extra spark of self-belief. But Mercury is in retrograde initially, goes direct on the 2nd, very close to Mars. So the combination between the two suggests that for the whole of year 24, but particularly this month, if you do want to get in touch about a new job, do a presentation, start a business, see a business advisor, get some funding, you're going to have a lot of go about you. But also, Venus is in the 10th house as well. Charm will take you far, Pisces. You know a lot about Venus's charm because in your sign it's exalted. But the problem is the 2 planets in your sign, the first, your ruler, Neptune, squares up to Mercury through to the 12th, and is squaring up to Mars for the first 3 or 4 days of the new year. And Neptune in your own sign gives you that exquisite sensitivity, which helps you to sometimes psychologically observe situations silently, just through your senses, but at other times can leave you feeling a little bit confounded, or at others just drain you a little bit of self-belief and conviction. Now, Mars in the 10th house is all about self-belief and conviction. So you've got to make sure that your thinking isn't sabotaging an opportunity to really take a giant step forwards, because there is the opportunity there. It's also true that the moon is in your 7th house as you start this year, in your opposite mutable sign of Virgo, but facing across to Saturn in your sign. Ouch, that is a bit tight. And also they're both T-squaring to Saturn. So even though you may have the charm, you may have the drive, Mars, you may have the communicational skills, Mercury, you're going to need to pitch it in a way which you feel comfortable with, and also in a way that you feel is clear to the person that you're wanting to receive your détente from. So if you're reaching into a situation, you need to come across just so. But I want to tell you this. If we take the point of the moon and the point of the sun and we divide it by 2, it's 8 degrees Scorpio, a water sign like you. That's the 9th house of travel and expansion. This is a sensational year for you to widen your boundaries, but you can also widen your understanding with Pluto's help at a much more psychological level from the comfort of your home. So it's a very good midpoint for you. There is ambition at the start of this year, but it can be tempered by perhaps a little bit of self-belief that's lacking, or a bit of low energy, or a bit of a lack of clarity about how you're going to go about getting to those goals. But you're given a big leg up on the 4th. Mars moves into Capricorn. He loves being in Capricorn. Here, exalted, the passion, drive and desire of Mars links brilliantly with the receptive energies of the Saturnian ruled Capricorn, because Saturn really appreciates a grafter. So Mars moving here is prepared to really roll up its sleeves and apply itself. But for you, this is your 11th house. So you could surprise yourself that if you want to reach towards those ambitions, it's networking that's going to take you there. So if you can overcome some of your own initial reservations, inhibitions, or lack of confidence or energy, there is a golden prize that Mars inches you towards, because by the 7th, Mars comes into contact with the glorious Jupiter, which went direct on the last day of last year, and also, as you probably know, forged an amazing link with the position of the Sun on the 27th of December. Now they're still in touch as you come into this new year, and Jupiter and Uranus are in the part of your situation to do with the way you think, the way you speak, but also messages. Uranus can be quick movement, quick messages. Jupiter can be exuberant, hopeful and optimistic. So Mars in your 11th house links to Jupiter, 3-11, is terrific. They peak in a perfect trine just after the glorious new moon of the 11th, but they're in touch with one another right through to the 17th within 3 degrees. So that's storming. That's really going to give you a lot to go for. It's just that Mercury is conflicted by Neptune through to the 12th, and then in week 3, Venus, which has moved forwards in your 10th house, is then conflicted by Neptune as well. So there may be some distortion, some mixed messages, some uncertainty at times this month, but you've got to keep the faith, because the new moon, which occurs on the 11th, which has that Jupiter-Mars trine threaded through it, that links to Uranus in your 3rd house of everyday communication. So the ideas that you have can be very futuristic, and or if you don't see yourself as particularly a trendsetter, don't underestimate your instincts when it comes to where things are going with fashion, furnishings, colour schemes, TV shows that are proving popular, music, all those things. You can have a wonderful just sensory awareness of where things are going and just be at the cutting edge. Really exciting stuff. I'm really excited for you. The 14th also sees Mercury climb back into Capricorn, so it gets away from that sluggish right angle to Neptune, which may have left you feeling a bit, a bit out of energy, and it moves back into Capricorn, where it's very businesslike. But again, the 11th house, if you haven't heard from one or two friends, perhaps everyone's been taking a bit of a breather, focusing on getting money straightened out after the festivities, detoxing, setting those New Year resolutions, hitting the winter sales, you can start to hear from your buddies from the 12th. But on the 20th, it's a sensationally important event, because the Sun and Pluto come together in the last minutes of the last degree of the sign of Capricorn, and they're not coming back together for years and years and years and years and years. It'd have to be a lot of years, so I won't keep it going. So that combination can help you to think back in a very, very self-aware way to 2008, to see how much your life has been transformed. I think it's almost certain that some friendships have changed. Some of your highest hopes may have changed. Your affiliation and affections around groups, even sports teams, could have all shifted a bit or evolved. The 11th house is also to do with our higher values, the things that we really aspire to that are a bit more non-tangible, if you like, non-material. But then later on 20th, the Sun moves into Aquarius, house 12 for you, reflection, rest, and self-analysis, but also where we need to shelter and be more aware of the psychological domain. 21st, Pluto catches up, merges with Aquarius again. But Pluto's going to be in Aquarius this year for 38 weeks. Last year it was for 11. Comes back in the 2nd of September through to the 19th of November later this year. But that's it then. So the 12th house is something that you have a real appreciation for, because, as I say, you are the 12th zodiac sign. And Neptune particularly, very shimmering, psychological, spiritual, and Jupiter very much to do with faith and the expansion of that non-tangible knowledge. So a big journey's coming for many, many years to come, which will shift your life in all sorts of ways. It can also reveal some people who may not necessarily have your best interests at heart. Don't expect them to show that to you, obviously, but it will take time. But I think because you're very attuned to the psychological domain, you can welcome and embrace Pluto better than virtually any other sign other than perhaps Scorpio. The 23rd also sees Venus join up with Mars and replace Pluto in Capricorn. So there's social opportunities there. But there is an interesting full moon on the 25th. The reason is the Sun squares up to Jupiter at the end of this month. And it could mean that you do need to be a little bit cautious about what you share with people, because you could say something in a very open and very trustworthy way, and somebody could seize on that little tidbit, juicy little tidbit that you're giving them. And of course, by the time it gets told around 10 different people, the whole story has evolved into something completely different to what it started with. So I would say be a bit cautious about keeping your celestial cards close to your chest as the month comes to a close, but also be aware that the 6th, 12th house full moon is one which is asking you to get a good balance between your physical health, the 6th house, life organisation, routines, something that some Pisces people at times can struggle a little bit with. Obviously, it depends on your natal chart whether you have that so much or not. If you have a strong Saturn, for example, in the 6th house in your natal chart, well, your place will, I'm sure, be absolutely up to speed and absolutely organised to the T. But if you are a little bit more laid back, it's possible that this full moon is urging you to take some action to change things, because that can actually improve your psychological experience. So one of the great things that we can all do, perhaps at the end of January, is have a little bit of a declutter. Often people end up taking gifts back that they didn't really want or like, but don't tell anyone. Very Pluto in the 12th house, keep it quiet. But seriously, it can be a time when we might want to go to the municipal tip to get rid of some stuff that we don't really need, clear out our wardrobes, take it to the charity shop, and just have that sense of of rinsing out what's not really essential in our situations. But because Jupiter is T-square in this particular full moon, I think actually there could be some interesting conversations, and you could learn a lot. Someone could give you some psychological insights or advice. Someone could give you some practical tips. Maybe you're going to be the one dishing out the help to others. So I think it's a pretty bubbly full moon, to be honest, particularly with Venus and Mars in your 11th house. Maybe as you're going to pitch up and help a friend do a bit of reorganisation in their home, or maybe you're going to join a gym with a friend because of that more sociable vibe that comes from Venus and Mars in the 11th house. Now, the other thing to tell you about is that Saturn in your sign links with Jupiter for the first near to 3 months of this year. I think it's through to the 25th of March. Let's just examine the archetypes. Saturn can be about restriction, limitation, can of course be very cold, distant, blocking, inhibiting, but it also can give us the push to work hard at getting our act together. Jupiter in its most cavalier form, very Sagittarius, promises everything. Nothing's beyond Jupiter. It's an absolute breeze. So what the host Taurus does is slows Jupiter down, which is good, but Saturn adds more stability and anchoring. So what we get is steady progress. So I think you're going to find there's going to be some really interesting conversations in the first 3 months of this year, and you can see that, especially if you're born early in Pisces and you have felt really quite frustrated at times since March the 7th, and your physical vitality may well have been really, really much lower than you would like. But what it's encouraged you to do is narrow your focus onto the things that are truly essential, and not get sort of distracted and float off from what's really important. So the balance of these two, Jupiter the greater benefit and Saturn the greater malefic, it's good, and also Earth carries water, so they're conducting each other very well elementally as well. So that's something also to look out for this month. But I'd like to wish you a very happy year 2024. Thank you so much for all the amazing support I get, and please like, comment, share or subscribe.